Hello everybody, welcome back to the channel, welcome back to another episode of our Scuffed Boy, I should have called these Scuffed Boy, Injured Boy videos, where the videos are scuffed because I only have one hand and I can't really edit much. This video in particular is going to be very scuffed, for it is a Q&A, so I'm mostly just going to be rambling for most of this video, so I hope that's cool, and I hope you guys are okay with that. So I asked you guys some questions on YouTube and Twitter. We're going to go ahead and get through as many as we can. Again, the audio is probably going to be pretty unedited, so apologies in advance. But, you know, my hand, and it's my right hand too. It's the hand that I use for everything. So, like, yeah, being left-handed and not being your dominant hand, but you only have your left hand to work with, fun. Anyway, let's get to the questions, shall we? So the first question comes to us from Gin Kotaku, and they ask, Has being part of the AniTube community changed how you look at anime? Not editing that, just gonna leave it in. Welcome to Scuffed Video Time. Has being part of the AniTube community changed how you look at anime? Honestly, sometimes, yeah. I try to not let it do that anymore. When I started, yeah, totally. And I'm ashamed to admit that. There was definitely, like, I would play up certain elements, like when I first started making content, like back in 2016. I would, like, if I didn't like a show, I would, like, really play up how much I don't like that show. Like, oh, I hate that show, ooh, so much, right? There's another series in particular I'm thinking about that we'll get to as the Q&A goes on. But yeah, definitely, I think that a lot of people play into that. And I get why. It's more entertaining if you, like, really hate something than if you're just sort of like, it's alright, it's not my thing. Right? Because it's like, it's more entertaining to watch somebody, like, really tear something apart that they don't like, right? When really they probably just kind of feel indifferent towards it. I do feel like that's sort of a problem with AniTube as a whole. There's a lot of that. There's a lot of beating dead horses. Oh my god. AniTube cannot let jokes go. And I was the same way. Like, I'm not saying that I am any better or worse, right? That's like, no, I'm part of this community too. I do the same thing. So it'd be like that, would it be like that? But I do think that I let it sort of shape how I viewed anime because, you know, you want to fit in. You want to be like all the other AniTubers, right? So, like, I guess I don't like SAO, and I guess I don't like this, or I don't like that. And I used to think that having a different opinion was cool and edgy, which is so dumb. So there's, again, a show I'm thinking of that I purposely was like, I don't like it, so I'm going to make it my personality that I hate it. And I hate myself for that. But, like, because, again, a lot of AniTubers do make the things that they dislike their personality. Not naming names, but I'm sure you can think of a few who, like, they hated this thing, it became part of their channel, and it became part of their personality. I try to not let that happen anymore. I do my best to sort of avoid that. If I like a show, then I'm going to talk about how much I like it. If I dislike a show, I'll probably mention it, that I'm not enjoying it, and then I'll probably just stop covering it, or I won't really talk about it much, right? Like, as an example, this season, I did not really enjoy Mushoku Tensei, I believe is the name of it. But, like, whatever, I just don't like it, right? Like, if you like it, cool, I don't really care. I know some people who are, like, blasting it constantly because it gets views, and I know some people praising it constantly because that gets views, and I know some people who just genuinely enjoy it, right? Like, my boy Son just genuinely enjoys that show and makes content about it because he genuinely enjoys the show, and to me that makes sense. I don't want to make content that, like, isn't genuine to me. I think Son makes content that's genuine. I think Tristan makes content that's genuine. Arcada, Super Eye Patch Wolf, like, right? Like, these are dudes that I admire because their content feels genuine. So I want to try to do the same thing. There's other AniTubers who I feel like their content's not super genuine. I feel like they sense a trend or that something worked in the past. So they just kind of keep doing that, even if their opinion might have changed over time. That's another thing too. Opinions change over time, right? Like, I can say that I love this show 1 second, and then, like, outside of, like, a few, I might, you know, like, over time not enjoy that show as much. There's a few exceptions where I think I'll just love those shows forever, but, you know, opinions change. It'd be like that. Growing up is another big thing. Over time, like, you end up realizing how silly your opinions were, like me pretending to not like shows when I probably just didn't give them a fair shake. Again, we'll talk about that show later. Or, you know, just playing up emotions. Like, I don't want to do that anymore, especially since the channel's gone in this sort of like chill hop, lo-fi direction. I'm just gonna be honest with you guys, and yeah, so nowadays I'd say no, it has no effect on how I view anime, but in the past, yeah, it definitely did. Next up, Marian Mazilu asks, how is your right arm? Is okay. So I talked about this at the beginning of the video, and I'll be brief about this one, as opposed to the first question, which I definitely feel like I rambled on too long. But I don't know what the hell I did. I woke up one day and there was shooting pain in my arm, and it got progressively worse up until about 2 days ago, where it started kind of being less painful and less painful. This is the least painful it's been, so I do feel like we're already coming out of the injured boy arc, which is kind of funny because it just started. But yeah, like it's been less and less painful, but it got to the point where I'm currently in a sling, so that's fun. My right arm is like wrapped up in a sling. And I am still waiting to hear back from my doctor. I should hear back from them on Tuesday. So I don't really know what's going on, but even from what I looked up, like if it is what I think it is, which I think it's either like tendonitis or carpal tunnel or something, it's in my forearm, so I'm leaning more towards tendonitis. And it seems like you can get that from just overwork. So I think because like a lot of people who work desk jobs will get this, where their arm will just start to hurt, and it's just from overwork at their desk. So I think because I spend so much time working on AniTube junk, that I just don't give myself enough time away from the desk, so eventually it hurt my hand, right? And the hand that's injured is the one I use the mouse for, right? Like it's my mouse hand, my cursor hand, I suppose. So what I learned is that I really need to get one of those mouse pads that have like a cushion on them. You know, like you see like the people at the office use them all the time because it's good for your wrist and it'll keep you from getting tendonitis or carpal tunnel or anything like that. But because I'm a degenerate, I'll probably get one of those anime boob mouse pads. Probably an Ayumi One-san one, because Ayumi One-san's pretty great. I probably made her the picture that's scrolling by. Anyway, she's also the first VTuber that I ever came across, by the way, just fun fact. Anyway, moving on. The next question comes to us from Lauren. They ask, when did you realize you were a fudanshi? Okay, so fun fact, I've definitely told this story before, so if you've heard it, apologies, but I realized that I was a fudanshi when I was playing Kingdom Hearts 2, which is also my favorite game, like of all time. But I should make a video. I did actually do the same thing iPatchWolf did, where I made a list of my top 100 games of all time. We should actually cover that in a video one day. That might be fun. But I realized when I was playing Kingdom Hearts 2 that I was like subconsciously loving the organization, right? So I'm playing Kingdom Hearts 2 and I'm like loving the organization, and I'm loving how much Sora is like trying to find Riku and everything about it. I also ship like Sora and Kairi, don't get me wrong, but like, you know, like I was very much like invested in like all these dynamics between the dudes, right? And I was like, why is that? Why is that? And then I discovered something terrible, something truly diabolical, something truly deviant, and that was deviant art. I discovered deviant art. And while I didn't really make any art myself of Kingdom Hearts 2 or anything like that, I did look up a lot of Kingdom Hearts 2 artwork and fan comics. And there was so many fan comics about Organization 13 that I kept up with like regularly. Anytime that a new like comic came out, I would immediately read it. It became part of my day. Is that I would just like, I'd come home from school, I'd go to DeviantArt and see if any of the artists that I followed, whose names unfortunately are just lost to time for me. I don't even remember what their names are, but I would just obsessively check if they like updated anything. And it was always, Demyx ended up being my favorite character from Organization 13, like, and pretty much all of Kingdom Hearts. Like Demyx is like one of my favorite characters, and for some ungodly reason, my first true proper, like, I love this with every part of my being ship was Demyx and Zexion, right? Like that was the epitome of my favorite ship. And while it wasn't involved in this particular web series, I also want to shout out Demyx Time, because holy shit, Demyx Time was like a huge part of my Fudanshi awakening. But yeah, Demyx and Zexion was like my favorite ship. Zemyx, as it was called. And so that was like my favorite ship for like a long time, was like this, right? And it slowly sort of introduced me to like shipping dudes, and I found out years later, like years upon years upon years later, that there was a name for that, and it was called Fujoshi if you're a girl, and Fudanshi if you're a boy, which is what I am. So I'm a Fudanshi, but we are one with the Fujos, right? The Fujos and the Fudans, they're the same thing, just different genders. So, years later, right? I know this now. I am a proud Fudanshi, right? And what should I happen to see when the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer drops? Zemyx. I should stress, the reason why the Zemyx pairing was weird is because I think only in the manga did Demyx and Zexion ever cross paths, and the manga's not even canon. And I think that's the only time the two characters ever actually interacted. And then the Kingdom Hearts 3 trailer comes out, and Demyx is like buddy-buddy with Zexion. Or I guess at this point, Ienzo. Long story, I'm not going to go into Kingdom Hearts. But, yeah, and all of Twitter, and then all of Twitter knew that the Fudanshis were here, because everyone I knew was like, holy shit! Nomura saw the Zemyx fan art from all those years ago and was like, I'm gonna make that shit canon just to blow your minds. But yeah, anyway, that's how I became a Fudanshi. That's how I realized I was a Fudanshi, rather. It was always there, just Kingdom Hearts 2 was the awakening point. But moving on, next question. Mugetsu asks, besides watching anime, what other hobbies do you got? Well, I actually love video games. 2 pieces. Like, if I'm honest, for me, it's video games and anime are neck and neck. It depends on the day, but I might actually sometimes say that video games are more of my thing than anime, because video games have been around for a lot longer for me. Like, I grew up playing video games. I stumbled into anime later in life, right? Like, well, I shouldn't say later in life. When I was a kid, I watched a lot of Pokemon, Digimon, and Dragon Ball, and that's sort of when I realized that, like, oh, I like this thing. Like, I like cartoons, I guess, but it was Inuyasha in particular that made me go like, oh, this is different. This and Pokemon and Digimon and Dragon Ball are different to the other cartoons that I watched growing up. But, like, it took me a bit to notice that, right? So I was, like, you know, a little bit older, but since I was, like, an infant, I was playing, like, SNES games, you know what I mean? Like, so video games have been around for a lot longer, and I got to continue to play video games in my high school years, where I was regrettably trying to pretend like I wasn't a big anime fan and trying to fit in. Spoilers, don't do that. Just enjoy yourself, because I knew so many people who were cool, who enjoyed anime, they just didn't talk about it, and I just didn't know. And I was like, oh, wait, you're telling me I could have just been me and cool at the same time? Fuck, I'm dumb. Part of my French. But yeah, don't do that. Just be you. You're 10 times more cooler if you're just you. But, yeah, that's fun fact. Yeah, you get a buff to your coolness if you're just you. But I shouldn't have said that, because that is the nerdiest thing I could possibly say. But you know what? It's cool, so screw it. But yeah, video games have been in my life forever, like since I was around. So that's definitely like a huge hobby of mine. Like, I love video games. In particular, like I'm a big fighting game fan. And I'm a big farming sim fan, because farming sims are also kind of dating sims as well. So yeah, I'm either like 100% like full octane, let's kick some ass, or I like to kind of be casual and enjoy my farming games, right? Like Harvest Moon, or like Story of Seasons, stuff like that. Stardew Valley, which is friggin' awesome. Stuff like that. But I also enjoy me some RPGs, you know, so action RPGs in particular. Oh man, action RPGs are my shit. I love action RPGs. And I want to get more into like the Musou games, like Dynasty Warriors, the Pirate One Piece games, like Pirate Warriors, stuff like that. I also play music. I really enjoy, like, I have a ukulele, and I love the ukulele. Unfortunately, I can't play ukulele or play video games right now because of this godforsaken arm. But yeah, so the only hobby I can really enjoy right now is anime, which, thank God, because it's my job. But, yeah, that's the thing. Anyway, next question. This one comes to us from the Anime Dude, and he asks, is Free still your favorite anime? If so, do you see anything potentially topping it? And if not, what is your favorite anime? So this might, I don't think this is a surprise to anyone. Now that I was going to say, this might be a surprise to anyone. I don't think it is because I talk about it all the time. But Free is my favorite show in general. Not even just anime, just my favorite show in general. And season 3 of Free in particular is my favorite season, which I think is considered sort of odd amongst Free fans. Because I think Dive to the Future is just the best season. Because for me, what I look for in a show is give me shippable characters who are fun and engaging, but also you need to give me some hype. I need hype moments, right? And Free always had both, but in the earlier 2 seasons, it really relied more on the shippable characters element of the show than the hype, right? The hype, because it is a sports anime, but it's not it doesn't really focus on the sport, right? It's more about the slice of life stuff. And while season 3 is still kind of focused on the slice of life stuff, it puts more of an emphasis on the sports anime side of it. So for me, I think Dive to the Future Part 3, or Free Part 3, Dive to the Future, is definitely my favorite season of the show, and probably my favorite season of anything ever, just because of how beautifully it's animated, how intense the dynamics are. Ikuya's story is beautiful. Haru's progression is great. Haru is a character that I love, right? Haru as a character I love, and I think a lot of people view Haru the same way a lot of shonen fans view Jyotiro, where they're like, oh, it's boring. Oh, he's boring. Oh, he doesn't change, blah, blah. No, dummies. Jyotiro and Haru, and I can't believe I'm comparing these two, but Jyotiro and Haru are 2 characters who are internal characters. So a lot of their emotions and their inner struggles are just that. They're internalized. So you have to notice it through small changes. Internal characters are difficult to write because you're demanding the audience pay close attention to that character for little facial cues or little lines of dialogue that sort of tell you what they're really feeling. And it's hard to write those characters, but I think not only does Araki do an amazing job in JoJo's with Jyotiro, but also I think they do such a great job with Haruka across all of Free, but especially Dive to the Future. I think it's his strongest season. Although I should say that it's more so an Ikuya season. Season 2 is where they really sort of push Haru in a direction, but I'm not going to go into that. But yes, Free is my favorite series of all time. I love it so much. You give me shippable characters, you give me some hype moments, I'm in, right? That's all I really ask. Give me hype moments, shippable characters, and some Sakuga. You give me those 3, I'm in. I don't care what it is. Sakuga, shippable characters, hype. That's all I ask. So yeah. Do I see anything ever topping it? Maybe. Because there are some shows that I can think might top it. Off the top of my head, I'm thinking JoJo's could top it, because part 5 of JoJo's season 3 of Haikyuu and season 2 of Mob are the shows that touch the heavens, they came so close, but I still just love Dive to the Future to pieces, right? It's still just so close, or so close to me. And I'm too close to Free, I think, because if you don't know, Free is what got me into seasonal anime. That and Titan, right? So Titan's another one that kind of touches the heavens, right? Especially this season. But Titan and Free were the shows that got me into seasonal anime. So without them, I wouldn't be here right now. So, kind of a big deal. But I don't really see anything ever topping Free. I think the writing is so strong. The only way that something could top Free as my favorite anime series, if we're talking about the show as a whole, because I still think Dive to the Future season 3, you'd have, I can see it because there's been shows that have come close, because to me, it's a 10 out of 10, right? It's a straight up 10 out of 10 show, or season of a show, rather, season 3. But I don't know if anything will really top it, but I can see something matching it in quality, because a lot of those shows match in quality to me, right? Because, Mob matches it, Part 5 matches it, Season 3 of Haikyuu matches it. There's things that have matched it, but I'll still always give the slight edge to Dive to the Future. If anybody ever asks me what's my favorite show, I'll say Free, specifically Dive to the Future Season 3, right? It's just the easy answer. The only way I can see anything ever topping it is if Free suddenly just puts out garbage, right? Like if the movie that's coming out is bad and then they come out with another season and it's bad. You know, like they'd have to tank the series for me to ever not enjoy it as much. And even then, I'll probably always still fondly remember like what we've had. So I can't really see it happening. Something like one of the shows that's already hitting would have to continue hitting, and then Free would have to fall in quality. But yeah, that's just me. Next question comes to us from Sunny Sins, and they ask if you could pick a house to live in from any anime series / movie you've seen rent-free, which would it be and why? Kame House. It would so be Kame House. Kame House from Dragon Ball. It would be Kame House. And the reason why, and I'm going to start answering these quicker because I realize that I've been rambling too much. Again, I told you, scuffed video. But Kame House, because A, it's isolated. I like my privacy, right? Like, I like to see my friends, but I prefer my friends come to me, right? So Kame House really works for that. I prefer my friends come see me. So I like my friends, so I like them to come see me, right? So I'd want to live on Kame House, so they have to come see me. But if I do have to go inland, then I can just ride on Turtle. Turtle can take me into town, and then we come back, right? Or I can fly on Nimbus into town, you know? If I could even float on Nimbus, because you have to be pure heart, and so I don't know if I'll actually be able to be on Nimbus, because let's face it, like, I'm a Fidanshi, so I don't know if I could actually float on Nimbus. But yeah, something will take me into town. Maybe I'll ask Bulma to take me into town, you know? But yeah, I'd want to live on Kame House just because it's so pretty and it's so small. It's this nice little like island and the house on top, and it's so homey. Like I can like map out the first floor of Roshi's place like in my head, right? Kame House I can see so vividly in my mind, right? Like the palm trees, the sand, inside like the sort of chilled out like living room area. I would love it. And the fact that Roshi gets reception out there means that he might actually have decent Wi-Fi. Just put like a 5G tower somewhere nearby. I'm all good, man. So yeah, I'd say Kame House. Definitely Kame House. But you know what? I think that's basically all the questions I really got time for today. So I'm gonna wrap up today's video here. I hope it didn't go too long. Again, I definitely rambled on way longer than I wanted to. I can't even really edit it that much, so fingers crossed it's not terrible. But yeah, if you enjoyed today's video, don't forget to boop that up snoot, share if you care, leave a comment down below, and of course, make sure that you hit that subscribe button, ring that bell, set notifications to all, let all of AniTube know that you're here. And before we go, as always, I want to give a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. Look at these beautiful people. Look at all these beautiful names, and hey, if you'd like to join these beautiful people, there are 2 ways to do so. The first is by hitting that join button right beside the sub button. That gets you a badge next to your name, some emotes to spam in the comments, and of course your name scrolling past the screen here. Or you can go ahead and check out that Patreon link in the description. Either way, it is super appreciated. So once again, a big thank you to the good folks in the T Squadron. And again, I hope this video was even slightly coherent. I think next week what we might do instead is respond to comments in a video. I think that might be fun. So let me know your thoughts. We respond to actual comments that we got that week, or maybe we could do like a rate your husbandos, rate your ships type video. Either way, let me know in the comments. And anyway, bye!